A reading from 1 Kings chapter 2, verses 10 through 12, and chapter 3, verses 3 through 14. Then David slept with his ancestors and was buried in the city of David. The time that David reigned over Israel was 40 years. He reigned 7 years in Hebron and 33 years in Jerusalem. So Solomon sat on the throne of his father David, and his kingdom was firmly established. Solomon loved the Lord, walking in the statutes of his father David, only he sacrificed and offered incense at the high places. The king went to Gibeon to sacrifice there, for that was the principal high place. Solomon used to offer 1,000 burnt offerings on that altar. At Gibeon, the Lord appeared to Solomon in a dream by night, and God said, "Ask what I should give you." And Solomon said, "You have shown great and steadfast love to your servant, my father David, because he walked before you in faithfulness, in righteousness, and in uprightness of heart towards you. And you have kept for him this great and steadfast love, and have given him a son to sit on his throne today. And now, O Lord my God, you have made your servant king in place of my father David, although I am only a little child. I do not know how to go out or come in, and your servant is in the midst of the people whom you have chosen, a great people, so numerous that they cannot be numbered or counted. Give your servant, therefore, an understanding mind to govern your people, able to discern between good and evil. For who can govern this, your great people?" It pleased the Lord that Solomon had asked this. God said to him, "Because you have asked this, and have not asked for yourself long life or riches or for the life of your enemies, but have asked for yourself understanding to discern what is right, I now do according to your word. Indeed, I give you a wise and discerning mind. No one like you has been before you, and no one like you shall arise after you. I give you also what you have not asked, both riches and honor all your life. No other king shall compare with you. If you will walk in my ways, keeping my statutes and my commandments, as your father David walked, then I will lengthen your life." I'll never forget a story that one of my mentors told me when I was going through medical training as an undergrad. This particular mentor had been practicing medicine since the very early 1940s. He started his practice by still visiting patients in their homes with a black doctor bag. He was at this point in his career one of the most prestigious physicians in his field. To say that he was one of the foremost experts in his field, with certainly the most knowledge and experience, could not be overstated. One day, while he and his wife were ice skating, his wife fell and hurt her ankle. The physician quickly bent down to aid his wife, and a small crowd gathered around to assist them. In the commotion, a young gentleman in his early 20s, so about the age that I was at the time of this story, pushed his way confidently through the crowd and proclaimed with all the arrogance of youth, "Stand back, don't worry, I'll take care of it. I'm a med student." Not knowing that he had inadvertently inserted himself between the actual medical expert and his wife, the doctor and his wife merely chuckled and decided to let the medical student show off his expert skills in assisting with this minor injury. And this story later became an excellent anecdote for my mentor to teach his future students about the importance of humility. The lesson learned here is to never assume that you're the expert in the room. It was Ralph Waldo Emerson who is quoted as saying, "In my walks, every man I meet is my superior in some way, and in that I learn from him." Emerson was remarking on the fact that everybody knows more about something than everybody else. There will always be more to learn, more wisdom to glean, or somebody with more experience than you. Humility and wisdom, therefore, go hand in hand. Remaining open to the knowledge that you don't know everything, no matter your age or your experience, is a mark of true wisdom. Socrates had a similar revelation when he said, "I know that I know nothing." I remember feeling this way when I first started my higher education journey. I remarked to one of my study partners, "The more I learn, the more I realize that I still have to learn." Gaining wisdom is a lifelong journey, one that we should never give up on. I think that this point is really at the heart of Solomon's plea in our scripture reading today. Even though Solomon is very young when he takes over the throne from his father David, when he is offered a gift, any gift from God, he humbly chooses wisdom to lead God's people. There's a lesson to be learned here. Solomon's attitude of humility before God is truly admirable. You can see that Solomon really desires to follow God's laws and to become a good leader. He showed a great depth of character for his very young age. In spite of his youth, in spite of his inexperience, Solomon becomes the known standard for wisdom because of this particular encounter with God. He could have chosen anything for himself: power, wealth, long life, victory over his enemies, and yet Solomon asks for discernment in order to better lead God's people. Solomon chose something that would serve the greater good. He, like Socrates, recognized the "I know that I know nothing" part of himself and decided to ask God for the wisdom to overcome it. The wisdom of Solomon was then something that was divinely granted by God upon his proper response to God's invitation for a gift. We'll see some more stories of how this wisdom plays out during Solomon's rule next week. But as we continue to encounter these scriptures, or any other aspect of our faith life journey, one of the things that I love about our United Methodist heritage is that we get to put a large emphasis on reason when we come and look at our theology. We can use our intellect. We can use our brains, not just our hearts, as we encounter the divine things of life. John Wesley, the father of Methodism, holds up reason as one of the lenses through which we should study all aspects of our faith life. He was, after all, a professor of logic and philosophy at Oxford University. I used to have a youth director that encouraged us to ask the hard questions, to find the hidden truths. He used to tell us, "Don't check your brain at the door." We don't have to accept our faith blindly just because somebody else told us that it was the truth of the matter. We get to use our logic, our reasoning, our discernment, our intellect, and our God-given wisdom to sort out the truth of our own faith lives. I've realized that sometimes the older we get, the more set in our ways we can get. We start to reach what we think is the peak of knowledge, and then we stop searching for answers. We stop asking questions. We stop acquiring wisdom. Solomon went on to fill the book of Proverbs with admonitions to not forsake wisdom, to search for wisdom above all else as a great treasure, to seek after and to find her. Proverbs 2:6-8 says, "For the Lord gives wisdom. From his mouth come knowledge and understanding. He stores up sound wisdom for the upright. He is a shield to those who walk blamelessly, guarding the paths of justice and preserving the way of his faithful ones."